Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. I stuttered there for a second because I was thinking, is this really do you guys really want this? Do you want this Impact Attack? I guess we'll be happy to curate the Impact Attack for you as always, but the impact that we're going to be talking about, I don't know about that one. Don't blame us for this. We didn't do it. We're just trying to make content around it. But who are we? We're talking about collectively, we are the VBC. And the VBC is the V is me, Vet Jamie Williams. Hello. The B is the tag team partner, Brandon, as I reach through with the power of the internet for the hottest tag in all of TNA podcasting. And I think I can confidently say that. LG Brandon, whoop whoop. What's up, Brandon?
Not much, man. Whew. What a week in wrestling, pal, which is kind of means not a whole lot, just a week in wrestling.
Yeah, where was the week in wrestling? Where'd it go? But yes, and of course we've got the C with us as always to help us not only chat but also to carry. You guys help us carry the show with your comments and your insights and your questions and everything like that. You truly are the third member of this New Day-like team. And unlike the New Day, I don't think we're going to turn heel on each other just yet. So we've at least got one more good night. So let's say hello to some of the people. Let's say hello to all the Big E's with us tonight, trying to hold it together.
All right, let's see who we got hanging with us tonight, pal. We got Steve Ager. We got Liz. We got Frank's Pickle Barrel Ass. We got Lab Rat. How y'all doing? Whoop, whoop, always good to see you, pal. Whoop, giggity, giggity.
That is a 4-horse people of chat if I've ever seen one.
Symbol of excellence, pal.
That's right. That's why that's why this suit costs $2,000 and your suit costs $200. And I don't know what that costs because I'd be ashamed to wear it. Yeah, here we are. It's Impact Attack time, as it is always 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, here on HMG, YouTube, and Twitch. And what does that mean? It means that we usually talk about the things to get us started, the things that are going on in the wrestling world. Unfortunately, as I was looking, I don't care. Even the things, if I see it, I don't care. It essentially boils down to things like tweets from Ray Phoenix. I don't, and I don't mean to say I don't care about the plight of Ray Phoenix. I'm just saying that, like, what we call wrestling journalism is such a wasteland of nothing. It essentially, as we always talk about, Brandon, we just boil it down to, it's like, okay, apparently being quote unquote wrestling journalism is just, I listened to podcasts this week and I took several quotes and made articles out of each one of the quotes from the podcast. So we could just come on here and tell you, hey, you want wrestling news? Just go listen to podcasts. Cause that's what everybody else is doing. So yeah, I don't really have any top stories this week. Nothing really super pertinent to comment on. But if you guys have anything, or if Brandon, if something made its way across your desk, then I'd be happy to, humor it. But for me, it's kind of just a quiet week, and I guess that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, the only really big thing I've heard was the thing with Phoenix and Penta Jr. over their contract with AEW, which was like, wow. If so far it looks like we've gotten the tip of the iceberg with Phoenix saying I request medical attention and you refused me, or something like that. So I'm sure there's a lot more to that, which we'll see in the coming weeks, I'm sure. But like, wow. So apparently the whole thing with him going to WWE was a cover story to keep them from that part getting out.
Well, maybe, but they're probably still going. So whether it was a cover story at one time or not, it's probably going to end up being a reality.
Oh yeah. As soon as their contracts are up, they're never going back there. There's no question with that.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. That's the problem. We have these people with their sources and their podcast quotes, and we just don't know what we don't know what to make of all of it.
At least it looks like so far for sure. The one thing that can be said is that Pentagon his contract is up. He's done with AEW. So I could see him being a surprise Royal Rumble entrant.
It would be pretty sweet. Where's the Royal Rumble this year? I forget.
Let me go check.
I guess it doesn't matter, but I mean, I think we've maybe not particularly here, but do you find it?
Indianapolis.
Oh yes, a hotbed of lucha libre, as we all know. But still, I mean, people will be, if you're going to the Royal Rumble, you'll be pretty much with it, I think. And I've discussed in the past of how personally, like just for me, like when we go based on what I look at when I see dollar signs as far as like individuals, their talent, and you guys know my track record. Pentagon has all the money. Ray Phoenix is just another, and I don't mean this as personally, like, as a shot at him, but he's just another guy, like just another luchador. They've got guys in WWE that are like Ray Phoenix, like they have a couple of those. They got a Dragon Lee. They got the actual Rey Mysterio. They got several other people, including Axiom, who is super underrated, and I'm going to talk about Axiom a little bit more on the Next Level Wrestling review, because we're going to talk about Deadline, and just how impressive Axiom has been as a guy who, in my personal opinion, is you would actually have. I don't think he's going to be a megastar on the level of like a Roman Reigns or anything, but I think if WWE pays attention to Axiom and actually does it right, he could be a real big money maker as far as like that, just that spot on the card where you have a masked wrestler. This is a guy who was like, I originally didn't see that much in, and he's the rare case of like, you put a mask on him and now all of a sudden he gets a bunch more charisma and character and depth, and he's a lot more interesting. Even his promos and stuff, like his attitude, everything, like he's done really, really well. He's really well rounded in the ring. He's not just a flippy guy. And I see something there that I just don't see in Ray Phoenix. Ray Phoenix is cool because he does that thing where you like bounce on the ropes, like jump up and down from the top and second rope with your feet and do like little things like that. And I remember seeing him do that and be like, well, I never seen anybody do that before. Now I see lots of people do it, and I just don't see it. Whereas Pentagon is the guy that he gets over a lot with character. Now he actually takes it a little too far, like making people stand around while he, it makes a ceremonial removal of his glove and do all this bullshit in the middle of a match. But like, you can just produce that out of him. But what you can't produce is just that natural charisma. So,
Well, like something like that, like you could actually have a spot where there's like dips in the middle of him building to removing the glove. Like maybe he starts taking it off, the heel cuts him off, and then he takes it off a little further. He takes it back, and then that's when he starts getting into it.
Yep. Well, it would be great. It would be great if, like, let's say he was a champion of some kind, because then he does that during the big champion introductions while they just have to stand there and wait, and he's getting himself over. But it's also like, well, now you understand why he's not just getting punched in the mouth because the match hasn't started. You know what I mean? Like things like that, where you do the same things, but you. This is what I preach all the time. You do the things that you do, but you do them in a context that makes sense and doesn't make anybody else look bad. That is the entire key to not only wrestling but all of entertainment.
Right. Like you got to figure out creative ways within the context of what you're doing to get around that.
Yeah. Or like Liz says, like Naito taking off his clothes. Now, out of context, that that analogy may be somewhat like, what? What did she just say? But she's exactly right. It's something that the character does that gets them over, and it's something that's very entertaining for the audience, but yet you do it in a way that makes sense. But anyway, yeah, so we'll see what happens with the Lucha Bros as far as WWE goes. We got nothing to do but sit and wait. You know, we could speculate like everybody else does, and we can even say we have sources, but it doesn't matter. It's not important. And I don't have a Chris Widland question this week. So that is going to shave a few minutes off the show.
Yeah, we really needed you. We needed you this week, pal.
Yeah, this was but we appreciate Chris for everything, you know. So shout outs to Chris. I'm sure he'll be listening later if he's not here now. He'll be listening later. So thank you for
yeah, much love to you, brother. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, so I don't know what else. I mean, what else is there really? Like, do we just kind of just get into this mess of an episode and try to make it out in one piece there? Because I got nothing. And even concerning this episode, I kind of got nothing. I guess we'll just have to see. Yeah.
And speaking of One Piece,
yeah, pal. Let's just get this over with. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. All right. We're not gonna.
Ow.
Yeah, we're not gonna make this any more long and drawn out and painful as than it has to be. I mean, there's a lot of ways that we could make this longer. We could vamp and we could, you know, continue to extend the time, and we could just, there's many different ways that we can prolong the experience of, or keep coming up with different ways of saying the same thing. It's our job. Repetitiveness is our job. But no, I'm just kidding. All right. So anyway, we're going to start this episode with some Turning Point catch-up, because we have to know what happened at this monumental pay-per-view Turning Point. It was a turning point.
And it's a Wendy's brand. I'm going to assume it's Heinz.
It better be. There was a time when you could go to Wendy's and you just knew it would be good. But just like everything else these days, you know, it's a dice roll whether that particular location has fell off or not. So
usually the eastern Illinois towns that are bordering Indiana.
Okay. Do you want to explain that, what you just said, because somebody might be listening on audio?
All right, so Frank's Pickleball Ass had a question. He said, what town did Brandon like chubby chasing in? And which is, when I used to be on the road, there's a promotion we used to wrestle for called Strictly Insane Pro Wrestling, which was, you know, around the Illinois-Indiana border on the, you know, Illinois state side.
Oh.
And there were quite a few over there.
I see. Did you guys call that promotion Sit Dub for short?
Wish we would have.
Well, again,
that's where we needed you, pal.
Yeah, Frank has a follow-up question. Look, this ain't This ain't wrestling with Rip Rogers Live, Frank. These aren't the place for these kind of questions, okay? But go ahead and answer if you like.
No, did not ever have that happen, but there is a Mexico story for another day, but if I told that story, it would take up the entire podcast.
I see. And you have told some of that story before, and it has taken up some podcasts. All right, well, here's going to take up some of this podcast. It's a 5-way. It's like so right off the bat with this 5-way match, you could just feel the fuck it right off the bat. Here's your 5 people. Trent Seven, which definitely already fuck it. Leon Slater, Kushida, JDC, and Ace Austin. So this is the only possible connection that we have to any Moose whatsoever on this show, because the winner of this match is going to be the number 1 contender for the X Division Championship. We don't even get. Do we even get? Hold on, I'll get to that in a second. Do we even get a shot? Did I miss it? Did we even get a shot of Moose watching a monitor? Or no, nothing, right? This is just completely Mooseless. Moose is endangered on this show.
This was not even endangered. This was basically like a completely Moose extinct show.
Pretty much. All right.
I promise you, we'll get that fixed later.
Yeah, we'll punch that. We'll punch the hell out of that. We'll knock it the fuck out. But anyway, so whatever about this match, Kushida hits his Back to the Future on Leon Slater. I mean, yeah, sure, whatever. So Kushida versus Moose, that'll be a good match. It'll be good. So that's fine. But yeah, I just another job by Leon Slater, who's kind of like the future as far as like I'm looking at this division and looking at guys that actually might have something. He's so young, he's so talented. I guess he's just in that I'm here to do a job position now.
Yeah, he kind of feels like the American Yua Uemura right now.
And what is JDC in there for? Is he playing like goalkeeper? Like, if I win this match, I'll just lay down for Moose? They didn't even really make a story out of that on commentary, did they?
I don't think they did. If anything, I would imagine they put him in there kind of to like serve as the ring general and guide everybody.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even with that, you
got to make kayfabe sense out of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway. So as Steve Eggert says, in relation to the earlier chatter, was don't knock chasing chubbies; they're easy to catch. Okay, so any other thoughts on this 5-way extravaganza? No chubbies in this match. Well, Trent Seven.
I mean, it was what it was, pal.
It sure was. And it was over, but not the kind of over that means popular, the kind of over that means they finished it.
Thank God it's over.
Tasha steals with Gia and no music underneath. She cuts a ramble. Like, this show is taped. You know that, right? Like, you could have edited this rambling mess down to like a proper soundbite and not let Tasha just out there drowning herself. But anyway, the gist of what she's trying to say is that Jordynne Grace has been a thorn in her side and it's time to remove the thorn. She could have said that in one line, the very simple way that I just said it, but instead she took like 45 seconds to fumble her way through this. And we're fans of Tasha, so it's just a constructive criticism here. Maybe it just wasn't her day and nobody produced this the way they should have.
Right, yeah. I kind of agree with you on that, where it's like the producer should have been more like, okay, like, no, we can't go with this. Like, here's where we need to, this is what we're looking for. This is what we need out of you.
Yeah. And at least they didn't turn it into a cinematic masterpiece, shooting Tasha Steeles from a bird's eye view in her underwear, dreaming about, fighting Jordan Grace or whatever. So at least that's a win for us here. And then we go right back to losing, because if I ever wanted to see a match less than the Good Hands versus Sammy Callahan and PCO, I'd be hard pressed to think of it. Uh, I mean, I even almost fell asleep just saying it. Did did you have any notes on this, or I mean, if you or can we spoil the punching up, and did you just punch right past this? Like, you know what? I'm taking this off the show.
I think we condensed it, but it was still on there because we still had that thing with them later with Jake something and Alexander Hammerstone. But I think it was like much more condensed with. But yeah, I think I called it the Vets special when I watched it.
Pretty much. Yeah, we need to condense this down. This needs to be like a little small Eagle brand condensed condensed match. Like, get this the fuck off of my television now. And then afterwards, because if you see the Good Hands, it's not like they're winning, so it's like whatever. After that, as PCO and Callahan are in the ring, the lights go out, and then they play something on the screen that has like the number 23, like spooky number 23. So is this a promo that the Jim Carrey movie is gonna air on Access TV like later? Like, what is this supposed to? It's a hook, guys. It's a hook.
Extremely dull hook, because I can guarantee you, if you're trying to hook a fish with that, it'd be like,
Yeah, dull rusty hook. Speaking of dull and rusty, Dolph Ziggler is doing a promo here, and this is one of the most garishly lit hallways they've ever done, where it looks like something, is it? I was like, is Hulk Hogan back in TNA? Because this whole wall is red and yellow now. So Dolph's doing a promo. Thankfully, he gets interrupted by Coach, which is, of course, AJ Francis and Casey Navarro. But, yeah, basically AJ does his AJ Francis thing at Dolph, and then, basically says he should get a shot at the TNA Championship. And then Santino comes in, and I guess he agrees, because he makes a match for the TNA Championship at, what was it called? Final Resolution? Yeah.
spoiler alert, this whole thing is completely cut out in the punching up.
Oh, damn. All right. Well, now I guess we have what would be either literally or figuratively or both the centerpiece of this show. It's and they're going to fuck that up too. Because it's the System versus the Hardys for the TNA Tag Team Championships in the contractually obligated rematch for the System that they get for losing their titles. This is their contractual rematch, and they have this match, and it just goes along for a while, and then Alicia Edwards comes in with Kendra and hits the Hardy Boys and gets them DQ'd. Apropos of nothing at all that I could tell. And I'll admit, I really was not paying attention. But when she came out and started hitting them, it didn't feel or sound like to me that they were in some dire jeopardy that she just had to. This is the way. This is what you would do if you're the heels who are the champions and you're trying to protect your tag team championships because they can't change hands on DQ. Then you have your manager come out and disqualify you so that you keep the belts and get out of the match. The baby faces are the champions, and the system is trying to get it back. And then Alicia Edwards comes out and costs them that, as if this was the game plan all along.
And here's another thing, too. Alicia had been sent to the back, and then she came back out. Shouldn't there be consequences for her defying the referee's orders?
Wow, let's not even try to make sense of that right now. That's just too insane. You're making way too much sense now, even for me. Jeez. So that happens, and then of course, that allows the system to get the upper hand physically anyway, and then they beat the shit out of the Hardy Boys, and then they take Matt, lay him down on the table, pick up Jeff, powerbomb him onto Matt, and break the table. So now the Hardys have been tabled. And in 2024, like how rare a table spot is. So like this was obviously the entire arena was just mouths agape, stunned, silent. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. A hush fell over the, whatever municipal auditorium they were in or whatever. It's just not guys going through a regular table. No. Oh my goodness, no. So here's the best despite all that crap that I just laid out. If you were thinking to yourself, well, they really shit the bed on that, and it sounds pretty stupid. That's probably the end of it, right? They're done screwing it up. Like you can only burn down a house into ashes so much, No. You can piss on the ashes too, because guess what? Right after this segment, the next segment is Spitfire in another one of those analog wannabe digital analog vignettes where they're talking. I don't even care. Who cares what they said? It doesn't matter. It's fucking Spitfire. It's one of the worst things ever in TNA wrestling history, and that covers a lot of ground. I don't care about Spitfire. After the Spitfire thing is done, after we're done sitting through that, they go to Santino, and Santino says, I'm going to make a match at a final resolution. It's going to be a tables match between so they follow up their table angle with a completely unrelated vignette and then go to Santino making a match. The dead air is for effect as we're letting this sink in for all of you guys.
Yeah, how does that get past anyone with any sense of how you put together a wrestling show?
I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I understand things are difficult. I'm just going to chalk this up to like everybody's just their hearts and their minds are with Chris Bay right now, and they're not even thinking about putting on a wrestling show at all. Not anything to honor his memory or give him something to come back to. Just they are just worried about his condition 24/7. They can't be bothered with things like formatting. They can't be bothered with things like producing. They can't be bothered with things like agenting. They can't be bothered with things like, audio quality. They're just too concerned with Chris Bay. That I understand. I can understand that. I can understand how, such a important part of the locker room and part of the TNA family. I can understand when they're on the shelf like that and they're fighting for their life. Some things just aren't important. Like doing your job or doing the very thing that Chris Bay was there to do.
Well, also too, it's a holiday season. They're also producing that 80s territory show I'm sure we're going to be reviewing in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, we still got to look forward to Southpaw Regional Wrestling or whatever this but maybe they won't. Maybe maybe after the years of doing the Impact Attack, we've shamed them out of it. Maybe they're feeling guilty. Like, why are these poor guys tasked with reviewing this show every week for pennies while we get paid at least hundreds of dollars to do this? So maybe they're just going to take pity on us and skip the, whatever the fuck they call it.
Or maybe this year we get Wrestle House 3 Christmas edition.
But I've been a good boy this year. Why would you do this? So Sammy and PCO, you remember them? They're now like walking around backstage and they see these two Jack guys, Jake something and Alexander Hammerstone, standing around being jacked for no reason. And they're like, "Hey, are you guys the number 23?" Is basically what Sammy's asking them. And they're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, that was the best part of the show, is like is Hammerstone being like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Because he doesn't watch the show either, and why would he? So he probably really doesn't know what he's talking about. But anyway, yeah, that was basically it. So this is going to end up in a match of some kind, but because you can't have two wrestlers have an interaction without getting a match out of it. So that's going to happen, and you can imagine what that's going to look like when you see this shambling fat old man and PCO in a match against these guys. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
How much you want to bet to go with the swerve and 23 ends up being Sami Callihan and it turns into Sami Callihan versus PCO?
We surprised ourselves.
It's me, PCO. It was me all along, PCO.
You all bought it.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Oh, boy. All right. So, speaking of son of a bitch, Tasha Steelz versus Jordan Grace now. And we got Rosemary looking on in the rafters. Is she 23? Yeah.
As I check, she's pushing 40.
I see. So anyway, these ladies have a match. And then Alicia Edwards runs down again. She's busy tonight. So she goes out there and she tries to get involved. She tries to distract Jordan. Jordan kind of gets distracted, but then she sort of gets back on top. But then Lish jumps up again and distracts her. And Tasha actually nails a backslide and puts her feet on the ropes and pins Jordan Grace. So Thorne removed. Also, this was much better than every time that Frankie Kazarian tries to do the same rope pin spot. Like, of all people, Tasha Steelz, this tiny lady, actually pulls this off and makes it look partially believable, I guess, at least compared to Frankie Kazarian, who bet on himself to, be the king of TNA.
To be fair, he's got to call your shot. At least he's got that going for him.
Oh, and we'll see something else with that later. But yeah. So after obviously after this, you're gonna beat down. You're gonna add insult to injury and beat the shit out of Jordan Grace too. But then Masha's gonna come down. She's gonna save her best friend Jordan Grace. She's gonna make sure to carry her TNA Knockouts title with her too. I'm just holding this. I was just backstage walking around holding this, and I was like trying to eat my catering with one hand while I held my TNA championship in the other, and then I saw this and I threw the food down and went and ran out there.
Yeah, what if I run into a fan and wants to selfie with the belt?
You got to be prepared for those eventualities. That's just part of being a professional. That's why they give that. That's why the champions are on like a different level within the company. Because they always have to take those kind of things into account and conduct yourself professionally. Anyways, it looked like Jordan Grace at some point in this match. I'm not going to tell you where, because if you thought I was going to pay attention to this match, you're crazy. But actually, you wouldn't be crazy to think that. You'd just be wrong. That's all. But at some point, she apparently got her fucking nose busted because it was bruised and cut on the bridge, and her eyes were starting to like. I mean, it just happened, so they weren't like black yet, but I'm sure she's probably gonna have some bruising there.
Yeah, she had blood dripping down at the end of it.
She was definitely bleeding out of the nose, but it looked like she got cracked across the face. I don't know where it happened. I wasn't going to rewind to find out where it happened either, because it doesn't matter.
Hey, I'll say she at least made the most of it and made a good visual out of it.
So there's that. And now it's time for our main event. It is an 8-man tag extravaganza, all-star extravaganza. It's Mr. Bet on Yourself, King of TNA, Frankie Kazarian. It's the Northern Armory, which is, of course, Josh Alexander and those other two guys that I will never learn their names, versus Eric Young, Octopus, Burt, and Santana. Now, if you thought I might have watched...
Get me house show main event, pal.
Indeed. If you thought I would have watched Tasha Steelz and Jordan Grace, that makes sense. If you thought I was going to watch this, that one you might be leaning more into, loony bin territory as far as your expectations. So if anything happened in this match that was worth a damn, I can't tell you about it. I'm just trying to skate through this as quickly as possible. But I don't know about you, Brandon. Did you see anything noteworthy here before we get to the finish? Because I did see the finish.
No, it was basically your basic house show main event 8-man tag match formula. Simple, easy. We had maybe two heat spots, I think, if I remember correctly. Or if the second one was much shorter than the first one. And then we went into your, was it shotgun, don't go chasing waterfalls, pal. And then, yeah.
And then Frankie Kazarian grabs his Call Your Shot trophy and bonks Jonathan Gresham with it. And then Josh Alexander falls on top of him for the 1-2-3. The end. Oh, Joe Hendry was on commentary for this, by the way.
I forgot it. Yeah. And didn't really add a whole lot other than just to put people over, which wasn't really a bad thing.
No, that part's fine. But yeah, if Joe Hendry's not like making a music video about you, yeah, bland babyface Joe Hendry just ain't working for me. I don't know about anybody else, but it's Joe Hendry's just another example of like this would be like I don't know. This is turning into one. Sadly, it's turning into like one of my signature catchphrases. How do you get over as a babyface in 2024? Be a heel. So Joe Hendry comes in as a heel. People like it, think it's funny. They turn him babyface, and immediately this is just white bread, vanilla, any other words for generic that you want to use.
Let me push back a little bit on that. maybe if to get over in 24 is not so much as to be a heel, but rather whatever it is that you're given, whatever it is that you're doing, 100%, not 110% commit fully and give in to the bit.
All right, let me push back again. That's what the heels are doing. And the people are liking it.
Agreed, which means the faces need to step up and match that energy on their ends.
Well, yes. I mean, and I agree that some of the baby faces don't know what to do. So they can't provide any sort of like they can't provide the creative with anything of their own, but at the same time, like, there's also heels that can't get any heat. Or whatever. Like some things are being hamstrung just by the company that you're working for. And you're not getting the max value. You can't book yourself. So you have to, like, there are people that were, trust me, I know. Because I see the people out there. I see with my eyes. I see the people out there that are out there making lemonade, making chicken salad. They're doing the best with what they can. They're not getting over, but I can see them doing the work in the kitchen to make that lemonade and chicken salad. And nobody cares because in the minds of a mark, it's the push you get, right? Like, who is out there really true, like, and I'm talking about not just smart people, but I mean, I'm talking about your basic wrestling fan. Who was out there truly appreciating everything that Stevie Richards was doing, like Stevie Night Heat and all those things? Like, no, they're just like, he's a jobber. They don't appreciate that. They see what the company tells them to see, and that's as far as their vision goes. So when guys get the ball, like what you're saying, where they're doing the best with what they're given and they're in the heel position and they're trying to get heat, those guys are going to resonate with the fans because the fans don't believe in this shit anymore. They only want to be entertained. If I have to be entertained by the heels, then whatever. And if Frank is still here, he's going to love this. If WrestleMania 1 main event took place in 2024, ain't nobody cheering Hulk Hogan. They are cheering Piper. 1,000,000%.
Because he feels more real. He feels more authentic.
And he's way more entertaining in the context of what the fan has to listen to. If they're looking at wrestling like, oh, this is just some phony bullshit, but I like Roddy Piper because he says funny stuff, he'll be the babyface in that. And Hulk Hogan's sitting there telling people to, say your prayers and eat your vitamins. They're going to boo him out of the building.
And plus, when you look at the actual matchup, you got giant, jacked Hulk Hogan versus like a smaller, scrappier Roddy Piper. Who are you rooting for in that situation?
Right. And then you got Mr. T and Mr. Wonderful, but I mean, still, yes, Frank, they would besmirch Hogan because Hogan, and look, I know you're a Hogan fan. That's why I wanted to bring this analogy up. But regardless of anybody's feelings, take the feelings off the table. You like Hulk Hogan. I understand Hulk Hogan. I think Hulk Hogan is a great worker and obviously the biggest stars ever in the business, if not the biggest. But I'm just looking at, in 100% fairness, Hulk Hogan was a product of the time. That could not have gotten over before, and it couldn't have gotten over after. There was a window there where you could do that sort of like Hulk Hogan real life superhero gimmick and have it work, And he was in that window and he nailed it. And just like what Brandon was saying, when you take what you're given and give 100%, you become a phenomenon the world over. Everybody knows Hulk Hogan, and it was a convergence of events. But the 80s was so outrageous and crazy, you know, something like Hulk Hogan was, destined to be, right?
Right. And answer that too, I think we had to have 80s Hogan to get Hollywood Hogan, because the whole thing with that was like, wait a minute, Mr. American good guy Hulk Hogan turned like Hollywood bad guy? Hold on, I gotta tune in to figure this out. And that was
Yeah,
really that's what ignited the NWO.
yeah, and let's be real about it. They had already been done with Hulk Hogan for like 5 years.
Yeah,
right?
They were booing babyface Hulk Hogan in '96 before that.
Or how about 91 Hulk Hogan when they had to move WrestleMania 7 out of the big arena into the small arena because they weren't selling no tickets for him and Sergeant Slaughter. Like, the people were done with Hogan pretty much the moment they put Warrior over was the moment that sort of like we kind of seen all we were going to get out of that version of Hulk Hogan.
Right. The only thing you could really get out of that was a crossover with him and Ric Flair. They blew through that in '94, and then they did the whole Dungeon of Doom stuff in '95, '96. It's like, we're done with this again.
Right. Now, this may sound like we went off some tangent that makes no sense. This is why we went off on the tangent. I'm bringing it back to the original point and to Frank's point that he brought up. Because Hulk Hogan turned heel and started being completely different than the Hulk Hogan that we've seen, and started being entertaining, and started playing Voodoo Child by Jimi Hendrix with his entrance music and playing the belt and going out there and just being ridiculous, the NWO was cool. They were cool heels. Him and Kevin and Scott. Like, Kevin and Scott obviously had a lot to do with that, but Hulk Hogan, people liked the NWO. They liked Hulk Hogan again when he turned heel. They liked him more as a heel than they did as a babyface. We remember everybody just throwing trash in the ring, but they were only throwing trash in the ring because they saw people do that one time and then everybody wanted to do it, right? That became a thing. Like, well, if I go to Nitro, I got to throw trash in the ring. So that was, don't act like they really hated it. That was them being entertained by the heels, right? And that is how, in many ways, that was the start of this entire problem, is the NWO being cool heels. And they got over as baby faces by being heels, and now that's everybody these days. They're only good, like, because they're entertaining. It's not because people truly hate them. The only way you could truly hate somebody is if you really thought pro wrestling was still real, and nobody thinks that anymore, and they do everything they can to make you not think that. You know, when they're doing specials about the build up to the main event of WrestleMania 40 with The Rock and Cody Rhodes and all this stuff. So this is how we did it. Like,
how about
I don't think, yeah.
Yeah, how about when Rocky Maivia turned heel and joined the Nation, became The Rock?
Right. Well, that was post Hogan. That was post NWO Hogan.
Yep, he followed that formula.
Yep. As long as you're entertaining, people will like you. Even if you want to take it back to like other iconic heels like Darth Vader, right? Obviously the face of Star Wars. Like, when you think of Star Wars, the first thing you think of is the Vader helmet, right? I mean, am I right?
Definitely one of the
if you think about it, you know, yeah, we know the story, we know the whole story arc of the character now, but at the time he was just a bad guy. But he looked so cool, everybody liked him. You know, it's just that simple. If you're cool, people will like you. So, and Joe Hendry was the kind of heel that was amusing by the way he would like tear down the baby faces, and that just turned him into a baby face. And when the other problem is when the company sees you getting over as a heel, that's when they think, okay, well, we have to turn this guy. which one, no, you don't. But two, if you do, don't change what they do. Right?
Just change who they do it to.
Yes. You know, the only time that ever worked was Steve Austin, I think. Because Steve Austin never, ironically, well, how did Steve Austin turn heel? You know, by hugging Vince McMahon. But it was even this, if we're being honest, all that stuff that Steve Austin did after the heel turn and the McMahon alliance and all that stuff was great. It was hilarious. It was entertaining. It may not have been good for business, but it was good for television. It was funny, but it wasn't what that character necessarily needed, at least not at that point. We hadn't gotten sick of him yet.
Right. You got to at least give Steve credit and props for trying something different with his character.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, yeah. Anyway, the point is, all this was, we started talking about this because Joe Hendry was on commentary for this 8-man. So my point is, if somebody's getting over by being a heel, you can't, it's not, you have to bring your baby faces up to that level. You can't just take your heels and turn them babyface, because what are your baby faces supposed to do? They couldn't get over already. Now they're supposed to get over when you've got these more popular heels that have just moved over to the babyface spot, and now you got to try to compete with that. It's not fair to anybody. But these are huge, huge, huge issues in the wrestling business that we can't solve right here on a Monday night for anybody. I'm just putting it out there so that in a time capsule, if anyone ever discovers this, they'll look back 50, 100 years from now and say, I don't know who this vet guy was, and I don't know who he ever beat, but damn, he makes a lot of sense. Anyway, speaking of making sense, it is now Brandon's turn to make sense of this bull fucking shit that has no moose on it. We are going to change this alternate universe to something a little bit more palatable, I think.
Oh yeah, I promise you, on paper at least, I got you something much better than what we got. So let's get to it. Whoop whoop. Let's see. Let's grab our. I'll make sure I grab the one that actually has the Heinz logo on it. There we go. Yep. Recap ketchup packet.
Not sponsored.
Intro Pyro Ballyhoo go to the announce table, run down the card for tonight, give their thoughts on recent events. In-ring.
Oh yeah, I just one thing real quick. I haven't said this in a while. I like to say it just every once in a while, just if I'm in a spicy mood or whatever, you know, maybe a spicy ketchup mood.
Get me Whataburger, pal.
Yeah, just my producer notes on the show. I don't give a fuck what the commentators' thoughts are on recent events. All right, continue.
All right, we go to in-ring. The System, Joe Hendry, Nick Nemeth. The System music and entrance. The members of the System talk about how JBL screwed them over and how Nick lied to Joe Hendry about JBL. Moose asks Hendry to come out. Joe Hendry, music and entrance. Hendry says that he's dealt with the System enough to know the games they play, so he wants to hear it from Nick Nemeth himself. Nick Nemeth, music and entrance. Nemeth mentions how JBL evened the odds against the System when they interfered at Turning Point. Hendry says that still doesn't answer why JBL attacked him. First Class music and entrance. AJ Francis promo on how he should be in the mix for the world title. Santino music and entrance, and he books a 3-way match for the number one contenders for the main event between Joe Hendry, JDC, and AJ Francis. AJ Francis gives a cheap shot to Joe Hendry, which leads to a brawl. Santino calls for security as we go to break. Commercial break number 1. Backstage, Nick Nemeth's locker room. Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry. Hendry enters and wants to talk about JBL and everything that's been happening recently. Nemeth says there's a lot going on. during the show tonight, and they can talk afterward. Match number 1, Trent Seven versus Kushida versus Ace Austin versus Casey Navarro versus Leon Slater. Trent Seven music and entrance, Kushida music and entrance, Ace Austin music and entrance, Casey Navarro music and entrance, Leon Slater music and entrance. Condensed version of match on the show with Kushida going over. Pre-tape Tasha Steelz promo, same as on the show.
Except good.
What's up?
I said except good.
Yeah, except good.
Same as on the show, except good.
Except good, yes. Then we go backstage to the Systems locker room. Gia asks for Moose's thoughts on what's going on between Hendry and Nemeth. Moose stirs the pot.
About these.
Moose stirs the pot by saying he thinks Nemeth is lying to Hendry. We go to our second commercial break. Match number 2, Good Hands versus Sami Callihan, PCO. Good Hands music and entrance with better promo. Sami Callihan music and entrance, PCO music and entrance. Condensed version of match on the show, including post-match number 23 appearing on the screen. Vignette Spitfire, same as on the show, except better. Footage. Havoc and...
Those are tall orders. Asking for better Good Hands promos and Spitfire vignettes. I don't know if all the fantasy booking in the world can come up with that. Even if you had like a genie with wishes, I don't think you could get it. Yeah. It'd be a monkey paw situation. Like you say, I want Good Hands to do a better promo, and then Good Hands would come out with the microphone and be like, better. That's what you'd get with the with the cursed wish. All right,
okay, if I had the monkey's paw, I'd say, okay, a better quality promo than the promo they cut on this specific edition on TNA Impact Wrestling.
And I don't want to turn into a zombie turkey. I want to turn into a turkey myself. Yeah.
Oh, okay. The verbiage is a little dry.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, the verbiage was a little dry. All right.
So, all right, we're a little bit 2 months past that for a Halloween reference.
Yeah, we missed it. We missed the window.
Okay, so yeah, we go to footage of Havoc and Crazy Steve in AAA. Announcer voiceover the footage that Crazy Steve has helped Havoc overcome her doubts, and they're working together in Mexico while watching Rosemary and plan to talk to her when they come back. Go to a pre-tape of Havoc and Crazy Steve together in Mexico. The two of them realize the mistakes they've been making, and they're now seeing their friend Rosemary go down a similar path. They need to save her from doing so. You go to vignette of Rosemary. She's tired of relying on others who only prove themselves unreliable, and she's looking out for herself now. Commercial break number 3. Match number 3. TNA World Tag Team titles. Hardys versus Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers music and entrance with Alicia Edwards. The Hardys music and entrance. Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers over Dirty, new TNA World Tag Team champions. Edwards and Myers beat down Hardy. Rebby Hardy jumps the rail to defend her family before Alicia attacks her from behind with Kendra. And they all beat the Hardy family down before we go to our 4th commercial break. We go backstage to the trainer's room. The Hardys and Rebby are being treated and attended to by trainers. Gia enters and asks them how they feel. The Hardys and Rebby are angry and challenge Edwards, Myers, and Alicia to meet them on the Hardy compound next week. You go backstage to the Systems locker room where Moose congratulates Myers, Edwards, and Alicia on a job well done and says he knows JDC will win tonight and then bring the TNA World title back to the System. They say they survived the Hardy compound before. They have no problem conquering it this time. Match number 6. Northern Armory, Frankie Kazarian versus Eric Young, Steve Macklin, Jonathan Gresham, Mike Santana. Frankie Kazarian, music and entrance. Northern Army, music and entrance. Jonathan Gresham, music and entrance. Eric and Young, music and entrance. Whew. Steve Macklin, music and entrance. Mike Santana, music and entrance. Condensed version of match on the show with no Joe Hendry involvement at all. Backstage, Sami Callihan, PCO, Jake Something, Alexander Hammerstone. Same on the show, but better. And then our main event, match number 7, which is, hold on. I'm sorry. Match number 7, Tasha Steelz versus Hold on. I'm sorry, I fucked that up. Oh wow.
I was gonna say we had 7 matches already.
I numbered that wrong. I'm sorry. I was doing a lot of copy pasting, moving around that I forgot to make some adjustments to. I apologize, guys.
I'm telling you, when Brandon tries to simulate a TNA program, like he really goes all out with the, the formatting and the all the he's trying to replicate the mistakes and the stuff that doesn't make sense. That's the accuracy that we're trying to bring here.
All right, so let's go to our next match, which is Tasha Steelz versus Jordan Grace. Tasha Steelz music and entrance, Jordan Grace music and entrance, condensed version of match on the show. You go backstage to the Systems locker room. Wait, hang on. Did I fuck that up? Oh, wow. Yeah, I sure did, pal. This is a day of. I apologize.
We're live, pal.
Fuck it. We'll do it live, pal. Commercial break number 5, New Japan Wrestling hype video. Go to the announce table, announce current final resolution card and next week's card. Main event, AJ Francis versus JDC versus Joe Hendry. AJ Francis music and entrance, JDC music and entrance, Joe Hendry music and entrance. AJ Francis over after the system comes out to interfere, and Nick Nemeth comes out to counter them, only for something to happen where Nemeth accidentally takes out Hendry, which leads to Francis pinning Hendry. Show ends with Francis celebrating on the ramp while Hendry and Nemeth jaw at each other before the system take them out and stand tall over them.
Yeah, standing tall. That's how I like to see it. All right. Well, once again, very TNA accurate. A lot of confusion, formatting. If your
Give me
mic
Shred-O-Matic, pal.
Yeah, if your mic could have cut out a few times while you were saying that, that would have been the perfect chef's kiss for a TNA broadcast. But yeah, that was that. We punched it up. We've done all we can do. I think we're at the end of our respective ropes with this week's content. We should probably just take it home before anything else goes awry, or before we turn into a turkey ourselves. So let's go ahead and let you guys get on out of here. And before we do that, we'll tell you where you can find us the rest of this week, Brandon.
Let's see what we got going on this week. Tomorrow night, since I get off work early enough, we're going to be doing a late start of NXT tomorrow night. And then, of course, we got our AEW Dynamite watch along on Wednesday, followed up by my usual Wednesday night stream on twitch.tv/LGBrandon whoop whoop. And then Thursday, we got HMG After Dark. This week, we're doing the Dino Bravo story that's told on Dark Side of the Ring. We're doing a watch along of that. Then, of course, Friday, we're doing a replay watch along / late start of SmackDown. Saturday's a late start of Saturday night's main event. And then Sunday, a replay watch along of TNA. And then, of course, week from tonight, we'll be right back here with another Impact Attack. Yeah, pal. Whoop, whoop.
There's your week of whoop whoops. As for me, of course, this is going to be a week of vet here at Hami Media Group, because not only will you see me, as you always do, for Sundays, the Wreckage, or Mondays, the Impact Attack, but you're going to see me for Tuesdays, I Like It Raw, with Jimmy T, filling in for Big Ray. And then Jimmy T, in turn, is going to fill in for Big Ray on Next Level Wrestling Review. So you're getting a triple Vet and Jimmy main event this week as far as those shows go. And actually, Jimmy is going to do the Smack Attack too. So Jimmy T's going to be on every show this week, I believe. So, except for this one. He's not on this one. But yes. So thanks and shout outs to Jimmy for helping out and doing some extra duty here this week.
He said duty.
So that's what you have to look forward to.
And Jimmy,
and then
like I said Saturday, Wednesday, I'm trying the gyro, pal.
oh, a gyro. All right, you take that gyro, you put it in your mouth, and let us know how it tastes. And then yeah, so that's for HMG. HMG is all about vetting Jimmy this week, and then the rest of this you could check out Wrestling with Rogers every Friday at their concrete time of noon if they turn their microphones on, and you can check out the Stevie Richards Show, new episodes every Friday also. So Friday is where the new stuff happens, and that's besides finding me at Opinion Haver everywhere, I think that's pretty much it. So unless I'm forgetting something, for Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign off line.